Now, if you're in production or creative, you might be wondering, why does the title and thumbnail matter to me? Expectations is why. The title and thumbnail on the videos you will be producing set the expectations for the viewer of your video. Imagine you clicked on a video titled World's Largest Bouncy Castle, and the thumbnail had a giant yellow bouncy castle beside a bunch of huge buildings. Then when the video plays, it's not a yellow bouncy castle, it's red. It's also not the world's largest. It's also in a field with no buildings like the thumbnail. You'd feel like you were lied to and click off because the video did not meet the expectations of the title or thumbnail. This is why you must know the title and thumbnails of the videos you're making. How can you know how to start your video if you don't even know what expectations the viewers have of you? Now let's jump over to the second metric that matters, AVD. This is how long, on average, people watch a given video. The cool thing about YouTube is they give us super detailed graphs for every video that show the exact second we lose a viewer. See that blue line in the image above? That represents the attention span of the 60 million people that clicked on this video. It's crazy, but we can see exactly when every single person who clicked on this video clicks off. As with almost every video on YouTube, the first minute has the most loss. Go look. This is why we freak out so much about the first minute and go so above and beyond to make it the best we freaking can. On this particular video, we lost 21 million viewers in the first minute of the video, which, surprisingly, compared to other channels is above average and could have been much worse. Let's say the start of the video wasn't well lit. I didn't match the expectations of the clickbait, I didn't pre-plan what I'd say, and we didn't front-load some interesting stuff in the first minute of content, we would have lost far fewer than 21 million people. Because it wouldn't have even gotten 21 million views, but if the views were hypothetically fixed, then instead of still having 39 million viewers at the 1 minute mark, it would be more like 20 million viewers. The first minute of each video is the most important minute. The first minute of content, you will have what we call minutes 1 through 3. This is where you have to transition from hype to execution generally. Stop telling people what they will be watching and start showing them. An example of a 13-minute tactic we would use is crazy progression. Let's say we have a 10-minute video about a guy surviving weeks in the woods. Instead of making the first 3 minutes of the video about his first day, then progressing from there like a logical filmmaker would, we'd try to cover multiple days in the first 3 minutes of the video so the viewer is now super invested in the story. They've seen this man survive multiple days in the woods and emotionally now want to see how much further he can go. We also want to do something around the 3-minute mark called a 3-minute re-engagement. A re-engagement can be described as content that is highly interesting, fits the story, and makes people genuinely impressed. Another way to look at this is that it's a segment that only MrBeast can do this. It's important to re-engage the viewer around this time because they could get bored of the story and click off. These re-engagements are usually spectacles and sometimes need lots of time and money to perfect. A good example of a re-engagement is when Carl was put in charge of watching Josh in the $10,000 Every Day You Survive prison video. Following the first minute, then minutes 13, is obviously what we call minutes 3 through 6, and this is the next most important part of the video. This is where you plan out all the most exciting and interesting content that is also very simple. This includes lots of quick scene changes and highly stimulating simple content that reflects the story. The goal is to make them fall in love with the story, the people in the video, and the overall video itself. If we can get them to watch the first half of the video, there's a very high chance they'll watch to the end, usually at the 6-minute mark. We will include another re-engagement that is highly interesting but needs a little more explanation, and will push the story into the back half of the video. And lastly, we have what we call back half content. I have to be careful writing this because I don't want you to ever, for a second, think I am okay with content being subpar. Many videos have been killed because the back half content was ass, but in general, once you have someone for 6 minutes, they are super invested in the story and probably in what I call a lull. They are watching the video without even realizing they are watching a video. Typically, the not as good content would be in the back half of the video. Don't ever signal the end of the video unless it's to build hype for the prize or payoff at the end. This is also where long explanation bits can live, and if something unexpected happens or things don't go to plan, that can be turned into content. The above paragraphs are why you'll hear us ask what minute mark in the video you are working on is. Whether it is production, creative, or editing, you must always know what minute mark the content you are working on is. If you don't, then you're not doing it right. I just whipped out a calculator, and the combined seconds of content of our last 100 videos is 81,801 seconds, which, divided by 100, means the average MrBeast video is 818 seconds, or 13 minutes and 37 seconds. Some are shorter, like when we do a real-time shoot or something more emotional and don't want it dragged out. And some are longer, giant spectacles like giving away an island as an example. But 13 minutes is the average, and you are expected to know when producing which minute of that 13 minutes you are working on. And since we're on the topic of retention graphs, here's a cool visual. The last of the 3 trackable metrics that matter to virality is AVP, and this doesn't matter as much to you. Usually, the length of the video will be decided by me or Tyler. I just need you to make people watch as long as possible. Another non-trackable thing about virality I'd like you to know is what we call the wow factor, and it's definitely the most subjective. You can check all the above boxes for CTR and AVD, but the video can still do A for us. An example of the wow factor would be our 100 days in the circle video. We offered someone $500,000 if they could live in a circle in a field for 100 days, and instead of starting with his house in the circle that he would live in, we brought it in on a crane 30 seconds into the video. Why? Because who the fuck else on YouTube can do that? The fact that we lifted a house on a crane didn't add anything to the title and thumbnail. It obviously hooked the viewers and helped retention, but there are millions of ways we could have done that easier. It's arguably, from a data standpoint, illogical and a waste of time, but the impression it leaves on the viewer is invaluable for us. Anytime we do something that no other creator can do, that separates us in their mind and makes our videos more special to them. It changes how they see us, and it does make them watch more videos and engage more with the brand. You can't track the wow factor, but I can describe it. Anything that no other YouTuber can do. And it's important we never lose our wow.